I was in the middle of a long road trip and somebody, probably my baby sister because she likes to do that, was complaining about how EVs were inconvenient. She brought up a lot of the myths about what it's like to charge your EV at home and take commutes, and she doesn't own an EV. And you might also know some people who don't own an EV, or you might be looking into getting your first Tesla or other plug-in vehicle. So I made this video a while ago. You can look, it's a while ago, it's from my vault, about what it's like to take a commute in an EV, charge at home every day, and to take road trips in the Tesla. What I didn't cover, but I'll cover later, is what it's like to own an EV with multifamily housing, such as apartments and condos. But first, before we get started, scroll down the video, and if you see that the red subscribe button is still red, click on it, turn it gray. What that'll do is it'll tell Google that you're interested in videos like what we have to offer. Tesla ownership, EV ownership, supercharger reviews, software updates, and more. So with that, let's get right into it. People who have never had an electric car or plug-in hybrid are constantly telling me how inconvenient it is to always have to charge your car. So this is my unplugging procedure, and when I get home tonight I'll show you my plugging in procedure. It is so complicated. Let's take a look. There we go. Alright, so we've got our electrical supply equipment here. Yes, you can elect to add that, or you can just use what comes with the car. So far, there has not been an electric car sold in America without a charging equipment. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unload all of my garbage for the day. So I need my lunchbox, some equipment for work, my backpack / briefcase, and I'm going to close the trunk. Next, I unplug the cable. Mind you, all this is much faster if I'm not narrating it. Then, I take the cable, I dock it in the unit. I could just throw it on the floor, but, you know, that's nasty. Then I walk to the car, and I go home. Or go to work, rather. Okay, so I've completed a drive for the day. Let's take a look at it. Okay. So here you can see that my drive today consisted of 25.1 miles. I burned 8.9 kilowatt hours of electricity at a fuel efficiency of 353 watt hours per mile. In a normal EV, it would be less, but in this Tesla Model X P100D, it's not as fuel efficient as most other EVs. So the next thing we'll do, you'll see that it's at 225 miles remaining estimated. So it's going to add about 3 miles for the setting that I use for nightly. I let it get to about 228, 227 overnight, and then in the morning when I get started, I bump it up to 90 or 195, whatever I need for the day. But that's just me. Most people will set it to wherever they want to keep it at and leave it there. Oh, car just turned off. So what we're going to do is we're going to get out. Go back to the charger. Sorry, the wall connector. Disconnect it. This one has a button, but never mind, my other one's not right out front. They don't all have buttons. So hit that, it'll unlock. Plug it in. I don't have to wait for it, it turns green. Boom. That's how easy it is to charge an electric car every day at home. Okay, we're back to the car. I walk up. It decides not to open the door for me, so I will tell it to open the door. Alright, let's go to our charging screen. And you can see that will only take a whopping 5 minutes for it to complete to my nightly charge level. I've got a 100 amp connection to the unit, and this car maxes out at 72 amps, and it's taking the full 72 amps. I could lower that if I wanted to. Currently getting 240-ish volts, and it's charging at a rate of 45 miles an hour for this car's consumption. can set your scheduled charging in here, but I don't have to wait for it to finish charging. If my wife came out and said, hey, we need to go run errand XYZ, unplug it and get on rolling. I don't need to charge it every day either, but I like to be fully prepared for anything. And I like all my batteries to be at a nice nominal usable level for both my phones, my camera, the car, doesn't matter. And I'm never actually waiting on a charge. So like with my Chevy Volt, if it wasn't done charging, I would just unplug it, go where I needed to go, waste a couple teaspoons of gasoline, get back, plug in for night, and it's ready to go in the morning. And with these Teslas, that's not a concern either because of the ultra-large battery. So if something were to come up, I like to keep about 80 miles in the battery so I can get to a charging station. We call them Superchargers because of how fast they are, and that's also what the manufacturer calls it. But let's take a look at the Supercharger map. So if an emergency came up and I needed to go somewhere right now, well, for one, I've got enough charge to do so, but if I didn't, say we needed to go to, I don't know, we need to go to Disney World, I don't know why. I could put in the map and it would find all the charging stations we need to make it a Disney World. So for us, the first stop would actually be probably Savannah Airport. So let's take a look here. That's Jacksonville. There's Savannah. So right now there are 2 out of 6 stalls available in Savannah. Hey, we're charging. It's complete. Look at that. That's how easy it was. All right, so the Savannah Airport has 6 stalls. One of those broken at the last time I was there, so there is really 1 car there. Unless they fixed it in the last day and a half. You can charge up to 120 kilowatts a max. And if you leave your car after it's full, they'll charge you $1 a minute on top of whatever your charging rate is. In my case, I have free supercharging for the life of this vehicle. Well, the life of my ownership of this vehicle. And at that 120 kilowatts, that's about 300 miles an hour or more of regeneration. So if I were to not start from full and it needed to go somewhere, and I had to stop at the Savannah Airport to go there first, it would be anywhere from 10 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on if I wanted to skip any of these other stations. And so with this network, this is just the United States here, with this network, there is no concern about finding charging anywhere I might want to drive to. In the continental US, Canada, in Mexico, there's a little bit of concern. North Dakota, a little bit of concern. But I don't really have any plans to go any of those places currently. And by the time I might want to go there, the chargers will exist. And it's not just the US. I mean, yes, it's Tesla is an American car company. But we've got Europe. Asia. We're working on the middle of Asia, but they got China and Japan down. And then even down into Australia, they're working on that one as well. So charging isn't really a concern with an electric car. Consumption at 411 watt hours per mile. To get that in my Model S or my Chevy Volt, I would have had to been flooring it. But the Model X P100D is a tank, so it uses a lot of electricity to go where it's going. Okay, we're approaching the Columbia Supercharger. It's very hard to see, so if you're looking at your map, it's pretty much the only way you can find it. But it's right here at the Hilton Garden Inn, off of Farrell Road. A lot of people like to go left. I like to go right, because it makes it easier to do the reverse and park. You'll see that they've got 8 stalls. My favorite is number 1B. Why? I don't know. It just is. 1A used to be, but then a friend of mine curbed a Model X on the curb, and that day I pretty much stopped parking in 1A unless everything else is full. Okay, let's see what we've got to work with here. Unplug this camera. Open the driver's door, passenger's door. Oh, this screen is multi-touch, so if you want, you can operate multiple doors. If I wanted to open up all 4 doors, here, hold this, please, like that. So you can just take 4 fingers, and then all your doors open at once. Okay, so we've arrived with 124 miles, and it says that we need to be here for 40 minutes. And it says if we try to continue on, we'll be at a negative 32%. So obviously we can't do that. Let's see what it actually takes as far as charging time, because it is usually super conservative, which is a good thing. So you're not stuck longer than you expect to be unless there's a malfunction or heavy usage of the machinery. Here we go. When supercharging, you just lift the handle just like I did at the house. Push the button, aim it at the car. Boom, it opens up. Wait till it turns white, slide it in. Blue is during the handshake. Red or orange is bad, bless you. And green means it's working. Alright, you hear the supercharger cabinet click. You should hear my car click. Yep, there we go. And it's green. Okay, let's see what we're working with here. We are currently getting 58 kilowatts, 68 going up. These miles an hour are very dependent on your vehicle. Close this door for the wind. This is based on your exact car. So in my case, this is based on a P100D. And so it's very useless to try and compare these numbers across cars. So if a Model 3 owner comes up to me and says, oh, we're getting 500 miles an hour, it might be the same as my 343 because of my consumption. So what you want to compare when you're comparing charging across cars is how many kilowatts you're getting. And this should be a 120 kilowatt station according to the map. So getting 118 is not bad. Coming over here, we'll look at charging. Same data, but it looks prettier. So we've got 50 more minutes to go, it says. But right now I'm sitting in the car running the heater with the door open, so that will affect it. So what we're going to do is actually close this and look at some of the features of the supercharging screen. So we'll zoom in on the map. We'll see the supercharger right where we are. You can click it. And this is how you know how many kilowatts the station can give you. So this station is allowed to give me 120 kilowatts. And because I am using one of the stalls now, there's now 7 of 8 available. If there's a malfunction, it automatically marks the station full, and then you get a little pictogram of how free or open the stations are. This is useful for when you're driving down the road and you're driving by yourself, so there's nobody to help you view the screen. You can just look at a glance. If it's all red or nearly red, then you know it's going to be a possibility of either a wait time or sharing charge with another Tesla. So let's talk about sharing charge. Alright, so you see here the superchargers are labeled 1B, 2A, 2B. So what you want to do is not share a number with anybody else, because if you share a number, then you're sharing a supercharger cabinet, and it's only got a limited amount of equipment to convert the charge. So when you convert that charge, you have to share it with whoever is sharing a number with you. So if somebody were to pull up and see me here, if they pulled in 1A, that would be pretty foolhardy. It would slow us both down. So they'd want to park at 2A or 3 or so on. Okay, so Gig just asked a great question. She said, why this time, why is it running slow this time? And it's not really running slow. You see it's still running at 81 kilowatts. But I went ahead and pulled up the map of superchargers behind us here. And we can see why it's decided to make us charge longer. Here we've got one car, that's us. This one is partially full, it's got 2 slots left. And this one has got 3 slots left. So we could go straight through Greenville and go back that way. That would add a little bit of time to our journey, so it's decided to skip that. And we could charge in Asheville, but it's decided to not require us to do that either. So the charge to 90% is what it looks like it's trying to do. Would make it necessary for us to actually charge to 90 to make it there, skipping a station, going up into the mountains. Because the trip planner that we're looking at here, it actually takes weather and terrain and traffic into effect, or into consideration when it makes the map. So we're just going to go ahead and charge to the 90%. We're going to go up to the Arboretum, and then we obviously won't have enough to get back home. So when we ask it to go home from there, it's probably going to tell us to stop here in Asheville for a little while, and then I'll get to show you the Asheville Supercharger. So we have just completed our supercharging for our trip, and it went from 5 minutes to 15 minutes because we now have enough to continue our journey. You'll see that the map has come up on the left telling us to get back on the road. But if we wanted to get to our set point, which is 90%, it would be another 15 minutes. And that's not really necessary. Yep, so the reason for the extra charging was definitely the mountains. Look at that consumption there, 471 watt hours per mile. Sorry, they were turning it. There we go. The camera likes to do the opposite of my turns here. So we've got 93 miles left, but only 21 miles to go, so we've got plenty. This is a feature of the trip planner where if you need more energy than your set point to get to your destination by its calculations, then it will go ahead and charge right past your set point. So it does look like it does want to give us 100% charge to get to the next supercharger from Asheville. It wants to skip the Columbia Supercharger and go straight to Santee, which is fine. Occasionally, I've seen both this car and my last car on my home charger forget where they were supposed to be charging to and charge right past the set point with no destination set in the nav. I haven't seen it do it on version 9 yet that I can recall. I'll have to look at our Facebook group and see if I have noted it there before. Okay, it's in the final phases of a full charge. Looks like I'm still able to pull 283 miles or so from a full charge. You can see here the reason we don't advocate going for full charges. That last little percentage takes forever. But because South Carolina doesn't quite yet have all their supercharging stations installed, and the car wanted to skip a stop to Columbia because of the detour, we had an extended charge here because of the mountains. It says that we'll arrive home with 25%, and we'll arrive to Santee with 11%. But I have a feeling that it'll probably be a little better than that, thanks to the fact that I usually beat the estimates of this system. But the temperature is now down to 48 degrees Fahrenheit, and I imagine that also factored into why it chose to go for full charge. Alright, we're at 284, so we may still get to the 287-ish that it got when it was brand new. We're sitting at... Okay, there we are. This has just completed a 100% charge. We have 285 miles on the clock, and it's time to get out of here, because if I wait 4 more minutes, I will be charged $1 a minute for idle fees. Catch you on the flip side. These little dashed lines right here indicate a limit to your power. So if it's down below like that, limited regen is in effect, which means that your brakes won't work exactly the way you expect. If they're at the top, then you're working with limited acceleration, which means that the car won't put out as much power as you might expect. And both cases will happen if the battery is too full, or too empty, or too cold, or too hot. Regen is usually if it's too cold or too full. Limited power output could be from it being too cold, too hot, or to empty. And to clarify on my brakes not working the way you expect statement, it just means that the regen won't work as strong as you'd expect. It's limited to the non-dashed portion of the line. That doesn't mean that your physical brakes work any differently. So you just mash the big pedal and the car will come to a stop. Okay, getting a little close. Decided to skip Santee, and now we're sitting in the yellow, 57 miles with the yellow battery. We need 38 miles to make it home. We'll see what that means in terms of if we have to slow down or not. Okay, we have made it home with a whopping 14 miles of range. So we did this non-stop from Asheville to Somerville. We skipped the Santee Charger, and we're not worse for the wear because of it. So look at that. 14 miles, door to door. We burned 88.2 kilowatt hours, and we went 242.7 miles, and on arrival, we're looking at 49 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's take a look here. Woo-wee. 14 miles. We're going to set this limit back down to 80 because we're not going anywhere far tomorrow. And even if we were, I like to set mine to 80 at night and run it up to 90 right before I get out of the bed. That way, once I'm teeth brushed and showered and everything, it is ready to go at 90. And it's set done, so it actually takes. I'm curious how long it'll actually take, so let's see what the estimate comes out to be. Turn the heat back on. And that is the car warning me that, hey, hey, you parked me with nothing. I'm not going to do anything. Set this on the ground here. So it's saying that the battery power is very low, cabin overheat protection is disabled, as well as the smart preconditioning, and it also will let you set the keep climate on feature. Oh, a little tip for the S and the X. The antenna that receives the signal is actually in your hatch glass, not on the side of the car. There we go. Okay, so the answer to how long it would take to fill back up would be 5 hours and 25 minutes. Another tip, if the car is unlocked or the key is nearby, the charge port for the little T on the Model 3 will flash. And it'll flash faster the lower the battery is. So right here, you can see my battery is friggin' low. The slower it flashes, the closer it is to being full. Once it turns solid, it's done charging. And then the different colors are based on amber is usually you didn't plug it in enough, or there's some sort of error with the charge port door. Red is bad, and it is usually bad wiring or something wrong with your charger. The onboard charger, not the wall charger. A little tip. To get the Rainbow Road feature on the charge port, just click it quickly 10 times. Yeah. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. That was an example of the worst case scenario you could expect with supercharging. A really long trip in the cold with a sparse section of the supercharger network. They have a lot more stations now. South Carolina is still like that. They are still trying to install the Charleston charger. Typically when we go on trips, our stops are anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 minutes, and they tend to line up with our lunch breaks and our bathroom breaks. Not always, and if it's a slower charger, sometimes we'll end up there as long as 40 minutes. Our car is getting older, and our supercharging speed has slowed a little bit, but still the maximum we've ever spent, other than edge cases like that, is 45 minutes. So long enough to catch up on your emails or tweets or play a quick game or stretch your legs. It's totally worth it. The longest I've ever spent with a gas car during a gas shortage was about an hour. So worst case scenario, they're both about the same. So let's talk about multifamily housing. We have assigned parking here, and it's in range of a wall outlet, and there's a couple Teslas, a Volt, and a Volkswagen here, and we all are allowed to and do plug our cars into the 120 volt sockets, which is not the fastest, especially on a Model X, but it works. I don't do that right now because there's renovation going on in our parking garage, and the extension cord that I use is the same as, or it appears, at first glance, the same as what the construction crew uses. So rather than have my rather pricey extension cable go missing, I'm just foregoing it. So what that has had me doing the last couple months is every other week to up to 2 times a week, depending on how much driving I've had to do, I'll have to go to the supercharger for a few minutes, usually about 30, because I don't need a 90% charge to sit at home with the pandemic. But before this started, they had just started the garage, and I was still having to travel to work. So I would charge once or twice a week, depending on the weather and where I was commuting to. We've now seen all facets of charging your electric vehicle on the go. There are third-party high-speed chargers. You can find them run by EV America, ChargePoint. Basically, they are going to run on standard charging protocols like CHAdeMO, which I've got a video here for actually 2 videos, for the Tesla CHAdeMO adapter. They'll also run on CCS, which is a combination of the standard J1772 with 2 DC charging lugs right underneath it. And they charge at similar speeds on CCS. The Tesla CHAdeMO adapter is limited to 50 kilowatts, and it doesn't look like there's going to be another version of it coming out or an update to allow it to charge faster. So in Europe, there is a CCS adapter from the Tesla modification on the standard charge port over there that they use on the Model S and Model X to the full standard CCS port. So if you're in Europe, you can, and your car is got the right hardware or the right upgrades, you can use CCS. And in fact, the version 3 superchargers in Europe are only CCS. They don't actually have the old supercharger connector on them. So that's just a little tidbit, and if you're watching this from Europe, let us know in the comments below what you think about how the new system is with the adapters, or if you have a Model 3, just let us know what you think about it using CCS instead of a special port. And with that, over here, we've got some videos that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.